All right, well, welcome to Live from My Drum Room. This is a special episode, a PASIC 2024 preview. And I'm very fortunate to have with me today my guest, a friend now for a couple of years since we met at PASIC a few years ago. And I've known who he is for some time. But I want everybody to please welcome Mark Powers, who is the Drumset Committee Chair for PAS. And it's great to have you here today. Thanks, Mark.
Oh, John, thanks a ton for having me on. This is great to see you again.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I thought, when I put this up yesterday to advertise that you were going to be on the show, I thought you'd enjoy that photo of you and me and Matt Cameron from last year. So I've been wanting to use that photo somewhere, so it was perfect.
I was hoping maybe he was going to be joining us today.
No, no, he wanted to, but I told him no, no, I didn't. He'd,
Yeah,
he'd take too much attention away from you, and you're the star of this episode. So,
next time.
well, thanks for being here. Um, Lots of folks tuned in right now. This is great. This is kind of a new adventure for me to be on YouTube, and I'm digging it. So anyway, it's great to see some folks tuned in, and you've got some fans out there. So
Sweet.
yeah. So let's talk about PASIC. It's coming up in just a couple of weeks, November 13 to 16. You feeling pretty good about? I know, this is probably you're not having to deal with this overall big picture like our friend Joshua Simons, but you feel pretty good about everything all being locked down and ready to go?
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, Joshua is juggling uh, things in every facet of this event right now, which is crazy. I don't envy all of the work he's
No.
dealing with right now. And I get to help out specifically on the drum set side of things, that track. But of course, PASIC has drum set events happening and marching and symphonic and world percussion and has events happening in the areas of health and wellness and diversity and all sorts of different things. And I get to kind of work on one part of that. But the drum set sides of things, the drum fest that takes place at PASIC every year, is one of the biggest parts of the event. And I would attend it when I was a little kid with a backpack full of drum heads to get autographs and pictures with all of my drumming idols. And so it's cool to get to be working with the team to help put that part of the event together every year. But we're definitely excited. It's a killer lineup of drum set clinicians this year.
It sure is, man. I was taking a look, and I'm going to put the screen up in just a minute, but yeah, and I know from years, working in the business and working with different people in your position and also the executive directors over the years. Um, it's so much work for you guys. I mean, I'm going to venture to say that, when you finish this year's show on November 16th, a couple of days later, you're already looking ahead to 2025, I'm going to guess, or not long after anyway.
I mean, we're already looking into 2025. That this next year is going to be a huge one for PASIC. It's the 50th year, and
Right.
so that is definitely something that is already kind of on everybody's radar. But yeah, the process starts right after this year's event. Shortly after, within about a month, the applications will go live for next year's clinician proposals to be put in,
Yeah.
and then the judging of those proposals starts, and the application or the invites go out, and everything is kind of constantly happening throughout the year for sure.
And you're very intimately involved in that process, Mark, right? As far as the applications that come in, there's like a deadline of, is it December something that the deadline to
Yeah, it's
get?
normally right around December 15th or
Yeah.
so, or sorry, that they go live.
Let it go
And
live. Okay.
then in middle of January is the deadline. And at that point, the drum set committee members, a group of 20, 30 individuals who come to the PASIC meeting every year and are involved with different educational initiatives that we do throughout the year. All of those committee members dive into the applications once that deadline has closed and kind of rank them. And then at that point, myself and Joshua take a look at the highest ranking of those, and we start trying to piece together the event. And then in the spring, those invites go out to the people that we've selected. And yeah, so definitely the drum set committee, everybody that's on there, one of their biggest roles is to be judging those applications,
Hmm.
and it would be a ton more work for the rest of us to deal with if that crew wasn't all jumping on board and helping out.
Yeah, I can imagine. I remember it's a lot of moving parts. And while we're talking about Joshua, he couldn't be here today, and let's just give him a big shout out because he's just such a great guy and such a hardworking man, Joshua Simons, and looking forward to seeing him in a couple of weeks. He's probably on
Absolutely.
a plane, I think, right about now to LA, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so so I wanted to ask you too, and by the way, there's a whole bunch of our friends are watching live, cracking jokes. Needless to say, guys like Jim Mola and Dave Stark, who
Of
we will
course.
see, yeah, in a couple of weeks, a couple of wisecrackers. Um, I wanted to mention that in case I didn't later in the show, that today, as it turns out, is the last day to register online. Is that correct? That's correct.
Yep,
Yep.
online registration closes after today, so the only way you would be able to purchase tickets for 1 or all 4 days of PASIC would be on site in Indianapolis. So yeah, if anybody is on the fence about it, today is a great day to jump online and secure your registration.
Great. And it's pas.org is the website where they can go on and
Yep,
find all that information. Great.
pas.org, or you can go directly to PASIC, PASIC.org as well, and it'll take you straight to the event.
Great. Fantastic. All right. Um, yeah, and let's well, I was just I made a couple of notes just from a personal standpoint that you've really sort of touched on already, and when you mentioned all the different facets of what PASIC is, and I'm guessing a lot of the people watching already have a pretty good idea, but in the event there aren't people that are watching that aren't familiar with what PASIC is, it's to me it's like it's the most all-encompassing percussion seminar event convention that you could ever imagine. And I think you and we've been going so many years, we almost take for granted exactly how all encompassing it really is. But when you look at the daily schedule, and you see all the different activities that are happening, it really is like a one-stop shop for anything or any of your percussion wants or needs, just in looking at it. Uh,
Yeah, it really is. I mean, if anybody has attended other, trade shows or drum shows, or even an event like NAMM down in Anaheim, um, it's like you've had some taste of what these sorts of things are, but PASIC is so much more than just a typical drum show. And
yeah,
unlike something like NAMM that is focused on so many different instruments all at the same time, PASIC is just percussionists and all sorts of percussion, but you have the expo hall, so from 9 a.m. to 5
yeah,
p.m., I believe every day, the expo hall is open. So you can go and check out everything from sheet music to the latest drum sets and, different products that people are releasing, and get to actually sit down and play the instruments and check things out. And on top of that, you, of course, like you said, have the clinics, and there are panel discussions and evening concerts, which we can chat about. Um, we have a drum set jam, kind of a drum set late night hang that takes
yeah,
place this year on Friday in the lobby of the Westin, which is amazing. And uh, and then there's just on top of it, I think for a lot of us, one of the best aspects is just the networking, the fact that you're just hanging.
yeah,
And unlike something like a NAM, you just get so much face time with each other, with other people in the industry, and you just get to build relationships and friendships that would just not happen if you and I were emailing back and forth. And,
yeah.
I was trying to, get your company's interest in my drumming or something like that. It's just a completely different experience that I think, any drummer needs to check out.
It really is. You said it perfectly. And I look at it as what I always loved about it when I worked in the business and the interaction with people, whether they're, consumers or like industry friends like you. But the fact that unlike the NAM show, which is really, I mean, it's, you know, the bottom line about the NAM show is it's a trade show. It's really meant to be dealers, distributors. It's not what it's become, but the idea being that It's not a consumer show. But
Exactly.
this is all about interacting with the companies. Um, you can walk on a booth and meet an artist that that's there performing a clinic for one of the companies, and you might happen to be there hanging out, and you can, like you say, have FaceTime. That's way more personal and genuine than you might get at the NAMM show because that's just such an overwhelming situation for everybody. Um,
Yeah, and it's interesting. Your mention of it being consumer focused like that is something I bring up not only to drummers, as a reason to attend because hey, man, you get to actually try these products. You may be able to actually, buy that splash cymbal you were checking out, and get to know some of the people of the company. But it's also an argument I use for companies, especially some smaller, growing percussion companies who are on the fence about exhibiting there
mhm.
because unlike NAMM, which is absurdly expensive for someone to try to have a booth at if you're a smaller company, um, but unlike that trade show sort of vibe that's a little bit more focused on like your company promoting to distributors or music stores, instead you're able to go to PASIC and be getting your product right in the hand of a potential consumer who might actually buy it right there on the spot and walk away with it. So whether
Yeah,
you're a player or whether you're, a drum company of some sort that's promoting your products, it's kind of just the perfect place to be able to, like you said, make those interactions and connections.
absolutely. Yeah, you've got a captive audience, and I'm excited. I'm going to just say from a personal standpoint, I love the Kelly Shoe system that I use in all my bass drums, and I'm going to finally get to meet the people from Kelly Shoe, Jeff and Kathleen, and they're watching right now, and I'm excited. They're saying this is their first show, and they're excited to be there. So there's an excited manufacturer. So everybody check out their booth. They make these great systems. Quick commercial here, Mark. Hang with me for one
Look at
second.
that.
Just happen to have one handy with a Shure Beta 52 ready to go and a bass drum. But yeah, I'm excited to see my friends from Kelly Shoe this year's
Well,
PASIC.
hello as well to Jeff Kelly, and thank you for exhibiting. That's super cool. It's your first show. He knows very well that in my short time that I lived in Omaha, we had connected because he's not far away, and my recording custom kick drum that's on the road, it's got the Kelly shoe in it. I love it. It's awesome.
Great. It's great. I can't say enough about it. That's great. And also, it's an opportunity for folks watching. You might bump into Dave Stark along the way. In fact, I'm sure you will. And I guarantee if you buy Dave any sort of vegan lunch, you'll get a free drum lesson. You can mention my name, buy him something vegan, free lunch. Yep.
That's awesome.
Same with Jim Mola, but you just have to buy him a slice of pizza, probably. Again, mention my name, buy him a slice, free lesson. So.
Will work for 30.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I was going to say too, what I love about going to this show now, just sort of as a punter, as a consumer, or as I say, a civilian, is like my friends like Greg Bissonette, who every year is hanging out at the Dixon booth, and it's I don't know, I go there and I have this whole other appreciation for just the hang, like you said, just because it's such a great, loose, friendly environment for drummers. There's just a feeling that everybody is just happy to be there and just sharing ideas, hanging out, bumping into each other at a clinic or a master class. You don't know, you might sit next to Jack DeJohnette in a clinic, just watching somebody up there, or whoever.
Yeah,
And
very true. It's
it's
amazing.
great. It's great.
Yeah. Like you said, you don't know who you're going to run into. It's such a small, I mean, the music world is small. And then if you narrow it down to the percussion world, or maybe even more so the drum set world, now that world gets really, really small. And in a situation like Indianapolis, when you're at the convention center, everybody's staying at the same nearby hotels, everybody's hitting the same restaurants downtown to eat. So yeah, you never know who you're going to be, rubbing elbows with, and how many times you're going to bump into them over and over again the whole weekend. Next thing somebody that you met in the hallway is now somebody that you're, having a drink with later, watching the drum set hang or something, and you build a new friendship. And I mean, I see it happen every single year. It happens with me every single year. You know, you walk away from every event knowing a bunch of other people who kind of in their own ways do the same sort of things you do, and we all support each other, and it's just pretty awesome place to
Yeah,
be.
it's great. It's great. Fantastic. Well, I'm gonna put up the schedule and I know I've got this checked off just to sort of highlight some drum set activities for the moment, but we can also talk about Wednesday night. I don't have it up here right now, but Wednesday night is the evening concert with Antonio Sanchez. So
Yeah.
that just really kicks the whole thing off like incredibly.
Yeah, every evening there are evening concerts, and the fact that Antonio Sanchez and Bad Hombre are kicking off the whole weekend really with that Wednesday night concert, personally is just something that I am ridiculously stoked for. I mean, I remember seeing Antonio play with Pat Metheny years ago before I'd ever heard his name mentioned before, and the guy just blew my mind. So for me, that is the most unbelievable way to start this whole weekend. It's going to be great.
Yeah, me too. I can't wait to see him. Just I had been a fan of his for 30 years when he was at Berkeley, but um, he's just such a sweet guy and an old friend, and I'm just excited to give him a big hug. So,
That's
but yeah,
awesome.
let's scroll through and just feel free to just maybe make any comments or some of these guys. I have to tell you, I'm not familiar with Chris Turner, but I see he's
Oh
in the
yeah.
big ballroom.
Yeah, Chris Turner, you know, I have had so many of my personal drum set students who have brought Chris Turner up to me in the past and mentioned videos that they've seen of him online and his double bass technique. And yeah, definitely going to be an unreal player. Excited to have Gergo here this year. Gergo
Yeah.
Berlai is going to be great. Thomas Lang was kind of a recent ad, and you know, if anybody's ever caught him in clinic or even performance, it's just going to be unreal. We have Dave Chiverton and Peter Erskine there on Thursday as well.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just right out of the gates. I think that whole lineup is just super incredible. Um, Friday, as far as clinicians go, we have Q or Quentin Robinson, who's touring, playing the Hamilton Phillip tour, which
Okay.
is really great, and kind of talking about what happens in a show like that. We have Near Z, Trevor Lawrence, Jamison Ross. George Schwint is doing a professional development workshop, and Art Cruz, which is a killer way to end up Friday. Um,
Yeah.
Saturday, we have Elena Bonomo, Gregory Hutchinson, one of our own drum set committee members, Sean J. Kennedy, which I'm super excited to see him on stage
Okay.
there. We have Russ Miller, who's definitely a familiar face to a lot of people who've been there in the past,
Yep.
Jake Summers, and Will Calhoun wrapping up the last clinic of the whole weekend.
Man. That's
So
unbelievable. Yeah.
yeah, just on the clinic sides of things, I mean, it's just a ridiculous lineup of different styles and completely different approaches to playing. So that's gonna be just unbelievable. But you know, if you're a drum set player and interested in other things that happen along those lines, you know, throughout the weekend, we have a variety of things. That the drum set committee that I chair has a meeting on Saturday at 8:30 in the morning, which you are more than happy to join for the first part of that meeting and check out what the committee does. And then immediately after that, we go into a drum set panel discussion. And that panel discussion this year is moderated by Sarah Hagan,
Oh, great.
and it's focused on, I guess, what we're calling like performance adjacent careers or even side hustles, you know, if you want to use that term. Um, and Russ Miller, again, is part of that. Um, we have Mike Dawson, who many people are familiar with from
Sure.
his journalism work in the past. We have Eric Gross, who is artist relations over at Zildjian. Um, and we have Christian Dorn coming from Texas, who does his own whole music production studio on top of just being a player as well. Does a lot of mixing and things along those lines. So four panelists who really just do interesting things outside of just the performing as well. And I think that today more than ever, that's the sort of thing that a lot of us need to do, to make the whole thing work. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and there are drum set trainings on both Thursday at 1 p.m. In the hallway outside of the expo hall, and then again on Thursday at 1 p.m. I'm mixing up my
Yep.
times, and Friday at 10 a.m. The drum set trainings take place, and we have a variety of our committee members who will be there, um, just kind of working on anything someone might want to work on. If you're a newbie and have never sat down at a drum set before and you want somebody to help you kind of get a bit of a start playing your first rock or swing beat, they'll be more than happy to help with that. Or if you're a more advanced player, they will kind of assess where you're at quickly and give you something challenging to work on, in the area of coordination or something. So, just a great group of teachers who will be cycling in and out of those two trainings there.
Great.
Um, and then another thing I'm super excited about every year is that late night drum set hang that we mentioned, which this year is Friday at 10 p.m. to about midnight. And it's in the lobby of the Westin Hotel, right across the street from the Indiana Convention Center. And that to me is just one of the best hangs of the entire weekend, because that lobby is just packed full of people hanging out. And we have a little band, little host jazz band from Indy that plays. And we just bring up drummer after drummer to sit in. And all of that is lined up ahead of time. I will say that right now, because every year about this time I have a bunch of people touch base and ask how they can get in on the jam. But we have to give the band a heads up of tunes in advance. So
Yeah.
we try to get some of the artists who are coming to perform or do clinics over the weekend to get in there. We have a couple drum set committee members. But it's a great lineup this year. Super excited to throw some surprises out there at everybody at that
Great.
jam. So yeah, just, I mean, just on the drum set sides of things, there's so many things happening. And again, PASIC is so much more than just that in all the other percussion realms. So it's pretty nuts how much, like you mentioned before, like how much is actually happening there all at the same time.
Yeah, it really is. And no slight at all to all the other percussive instruments. And as we said, you and I, we're drum set guys, so we're sort of leaning in that direction. But like you say, there's so many other activities. And, if you're a mallet, and if you play mallets, if you play, hand percussion, I mean, there's something for everyone there all the time. And again, we've already said this, but I'll say it again. It's so focused on education, and that's the best part of it. You'll get to see great performances if you're going to get wow. If you're going there to get wowed by a drummer, you'll certainly get wowed. But you'll also be able to sit in a master class or a clinic and really learn something and take something away, because there's so much of that as well. Um,
Yeah, and I think that is something that we within the organization we really want to happen more than a lot of other things, is that the clinics be educational and include things that attendees can take home and practice when they get back to wherever they came from, or be the sort of thing that they're racing to get back to their hotel room to bang away on the bed and
yeah,
practice that little coordination exercise that a clinician had dropped on them. And we're always encouraging the clinicians to have as much of that content in a clinic as possible, because that's the sort of thing that not only as you said, like inspires a player. You're blown away by somebody you see, and you want to play more like them. But if an attendee can walk away with some actual things that clinician did to get them where they're at, that to me is like where the biggest value is at.
yeah, I agree. I agree. It's you can't really put a price on that too. I mean, when you add it all up and all the things that you can take away from being there for even just one day, it's pretty amazing, what
Yeah,
what
it
what you
is.
can retain from that. And I do want to point out Jeffrey Lang made a very good point, and I made a note, and I would have probably missed it, but he just mentioned to remind everyone about the PASIC guidebook app, where you can basically do just that. You download that app and you can plot out your entire day or days, which is what I do, and I'm sure what you do. And you that way you won't miss anything. You'll know where to go and when to go, and so check that out for sure. That's
Yeah,
handy
and
dandy.
for anybody who wasn't aware, what John had just pulled up there was kind of the guidebook app's web page, but
Yeah,
they have a mobile version, and when you go on there, it shows the entire schedule. But he had clicked the drum set button to just highlight drum set related things, but every year I go through and look at the entire schedule, and you can just add things to your own personal schedule. So if there are things on there that you've dug and you just want to make sure to plan out each of your days, you don't have to daily sift through everything on there. You can just go through and, from hour to hour, see what you had already marked that you want to make sure to be hitting. So the guidebook app is super valuable.
absolutely. And just to your point, Mark, I've just unchecked those other. I've made it just the general guidebook now, and you can see all the different. There's Antonio on Wednesday evening at 8 o'clock, Bad Hombre, and basically everything. There's something happening. Sometimes many things are happening at the same time, but um, there'll be plenty to do
Yeah.
over those 3 days.
You mentioned Antonio. I should at least kind of shout out each of the other evening concerts that are happening. Of
Sure.
course,
Yeah, let's do
Antonio
that.
Sanchez and Bad Hombre on Wednesday night. Thursday night's evening concert is Stefan Harris and Blackout.
Yeah.
So that will be incredible. Friday, So Percussion is performing, and they're such an amazing ensemble. And Saturday, again, back to talking about some exciting things for people with drum set interests. Saturday, up in the Sagamore, is the U.S. Army Blues, and they are performing this year with a variety of guest drum set artists sitting in. So we have Mike Clark sitting in, Peter Erskine, Colleen Clark, who is also on our drum set committee, Gregory Hutchinson, and Maria Marmaru. Steve Fiddick is setting in. So it's such an unbelievable lineup of drum set artists, all performing with this same group. So seeing U.S. Army Blues anytime is unbelievable, but also
Yeah.
getting to see a bunch of the people who are kind of in our whole PAS family and some of the artists involved is even a bigger treat.
I'm glad you pointed that out. I'm bummed I'm going to miss that. I'm on a flight back home in the afternoon on Saturday, unfortunately. But yeah, that's something really that's going to be pretty spectacular. Wow.
Yeah, it's a
Look at
great
that.
way to wrap up the entire event. Um,
Yeah. And if we can jump back 1 second, we'll wrap it up pretty soon. But I wanted to point out also the Hall of Fame banquet
yep, and that is 6 p.m. on
Thursday. I'm sorry, Thursday.
Thursday. Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Thursday.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Hall of Fame, the awards banquet is a great event, and this year we have five newcomers into the Percussive Arts Society Hall of Fame. We have Terry Lynn Carrington, who a lot of people are probably already familiar with, all the work she's done with so many jazz greats, Herbie Hancock, and you name it.
Yeah.
Neil Grover, who, in addition to all of his work in Boston with symphony and pops, had, of course, founded Grover Pro Percussion, that most of us probably have instruments from somewhere. Tom Hannum, huge
All
in the
right.
DCI world, of course, and he's actually in the DCI Hall of Fame as well. So he's just kind of racking up Hall of Fame uh, everywhere he goes. Beverly Johnston, a Canadian percussionist who teaches up at the University of Toronto. And then Jim Peterzak, who, if you've been in the Percussive Art Society world for any length of time, you've run into him. I mean, he was involved in getting PASIC started many moons ago, 1976, I believe, and he's
Wow.
served as executive director and, of course, taught at the Crane School of Music as well. But yeah, five phenomenal instructors and percussionists joining the Hall of Fame this year. So if you're able to go to the awards banquet on Thursday, grab a ticket for that too.
Yeah, that's going to be great. That's going to be great. And let's not forget to mention all of the major manufacturers, drum companies. I hope some are watching right now. We'll be giving away a free drum set every day. Just mention my name and Mark's name, and they have like a little drawing, and you can walk away with a $10,000 drum set right off the floor. Just mention
Every
live
single
from
one
my
of them.
drum, every single one of them.
One thing I forgot a bit ago that I do want to mention is, in addition to the clinics that are taking place in Indianapolis, every year we also have a whole lineup of virtual clinics that take place after the
Yes.
like for about a month after the event. And on the drum set sides of things this year, we have virtual clinics coming after the event from Bernard Long Jr., Rob Mintzner, Eric Boudreau, and of course, that there are also some in other percussion areas that you can check out as well. So joining as a member of the Percussive Arts Society, if you are not already, is great because not only do you get discounts coming to an event like this and get access to those virtual clinics, but there are a number of past PASIC clinics that are online in the members area that you can access. So, if you're not already a member, lots of reasons to do that anyway.
Yeah.
So you can sign up at pas.org. But if you're just checking out the event, go to PASIC, so PASIC.org, and check that out too.
Fantastic. That's great. And all seriousness, a big shout out to all the manufacturers and exhibitors who, make it possible. They support the artists and really are a big contributor to making all this happen. So I think we really definitely want to acknowledge all those folks.
Yeah,
Um,
I personally thank all of them for helping support all of this. And if you're at the event, if you're an attendee and come and attend, like walk through the expo hall and visit your favorite companies, visit companies you haven't seen before, and literally thank them for being there because they really help make a lot of that happen. And it just adds to the experience so much when you're able to actually go and check out those products and be there.
yeah,
So we're super appreciative of everybody who exhibits.
that's great. Yeah, well said, Mark. Well, anything else we want to add before we wrap it up? And
Oh man, we covered so much. I'm sure there are probably things that are forgotten, but as we kind of mentioned, there's so much that happens there. You just got to be there. You just got to come and do it because
that's it.
there are always going to be surprises. You don't know what's going to happen, so you don't want to miss it.
I'll leave it at that. That's perfect. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here today. It's so great to see you, and I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. We'll hang
Yeah,
out,
thanks.
and
Super appreciate it.
my pleasure. Thanks for being here. And thank you guys for watching. And I look forward to seeing many of you folks here that are watching right now live in just a couple of weeks. PASIC 2024. Again, the dates November 13 through 16. Today is the last day for online registration, but you can register on site. But definitely register online and get in early. Register often. Yeah. All right. All right. Thanks again, Mark. Hang
Thank
with
you.
me. We'll end the stream and say goodbye. And everybody, thank you very much for tuning in. See you soon. And don't forget,
You all.
Monday, I'll just quickly give you a shout out. This coming Monday, November 4th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, I'll be back with Manu Katché live from my drum room. So check that out. Monday, November 4th. See you soon, everybody. All right. Well, that's my show. If you enjoyed it, give it a like, leave me a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And remember, all podcasts are available on all the podcast platforms. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And a reminder that Live from My Drum Room t-shirts are available for $25 in the contiguous US. And I'm going to give you the Venmo information so that you can purchase one. And I want to take a moment and thank everyone who's bought one already. A reminder that 100% of the proceeds go toward a scholarship at the Percussive Arts Society, PAS, and you're supporting a great cause when you buy one of these shirts. So the Venmo information, if you're listening and not watching this on YouTube, it's at John D. Christopher 2. You can also email me at livefrommydrumroom@gmail.com with any questions. All right, so thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I really appreciate it. Remember, no drummers are harmed on any show. And drummers, when in doubt, leave it out. I'll see you again real soon.